Alright, so today we have a tutorial on Graves, and I did a vote on my Twitter and he got the most votes, and I forgot what the percentage was, but this dude is about the hardest guy on all of selection. And I mean, this guy makes trap. Usually I like to test things out on my keyboard, but right now it's broken, so I'm gonna have to draw in everything by hand, and hopefully it sounds alright. So I'm making a basic C minor chord, and we can go ahead and transpose it. And I'm actually gonna get rid of that top note. We don't really need it. It kind of makes it too jazzy, I think. I kind of like that actually. A minor, why not? So I'm gonna go ahead and extend that chord. Wait, what the fuck am I doing? Should be down here. I was wondering why it was sounding off. Damn. I always end up doing some really complicated shit that's hard to follow. So I'm really like, I've been trying a lot to do like a Pyramid Plaza type beat, and it always ends up kind of over complicated. So I think that's kind of one of my struggling points, is now my compositions, like I just get bored of like normal stuff and I start making some weird ass shit. So it's kind of funny. Sounds like a typical kind of Graves type of flow. Good progression, I guess. What we can go ahead and do is I'm gonna go ahead and think. That's what I'm gonna do, and then I'm gonna come back when I have an idea. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and make a melody real quick, or a second. I like adding a second chord progression. It's just something I like doing. And I'm currently working on a serum pack, and it's gonna be called Lush, and it's gonna have a lot of these sounds that I'm working on. It's gonna have at least 50. That's my goal. I want it to be hella packed and stuff. But as you can tell, I reduced my my plugin library, because at the end of the day, you only need so many plugins before it starts getting redundant. A lot of synths do the same thing, and I'm gonna make a video most likely about Serum, explaining why I chose that. I'm still saving up for Sylenth currently. This one is in demo mode, but I totally reduced my library, and Sylenth is gonna be for like low CPU type stuff, and I just like the way it sounds. But anyways, that's completely off topic. I'm gonna go ahead and record some kind of second progression. Alright, that's kind of what I wanted. Next thing that we need is we're gonna obviously need some horns. Now I don't know if I should use Contact, or I have a brass library from Ableton. I don't know if it's any good. Yeah, it's definitely gonna sound hella corny, so it's gonna sound pretty bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and use Contact real quick and load up Sign Brass, cause that's my shit. Sign Brass is my shit. Alright, where is it? So I feel like this is like a really it's not overused, but it's kind of very common to hear this kind of a sound in trap. Monster low brass. Oh, I gotta select it. Sounds like a Sam Galatry type of sound from a long distance. Super bassy. Obviously, we're not going to use it right at the start of the song, but it's something that we might want to record. And add some reverb to it maybe later. We can go ahead and start working on drums and stuff, since basically the main idea is already completed. It's not that big of a deal if we start working on drums. So again, this is a very trappy type of style. He has a very hard kick as his kick, so we're gonna have to get that kind of a sound from, I think the Sam Galatry kick is really freaking strong. And it's kind of lacking a little bit in the low end. So I want to use maybe Naughty Cali. We're gonna find a nice ass kick. I doubt there's anything quite as hard as what he uses. This could work, but I'm gonna add it to an audio channel, and we're gonna add some saturation to it. And let me keep the volume down. I'm gonna get a saturator. Alright, nice punchy kick right there. It's kind of lacking in the bass. Alright, there we go. Now it's freaking popping like crazy. I like having a lot of high end on my kicks. Well, not a lot, but having that high end so that it kind of has that click. So if you take away all the high end, it just becomes a kind of a bassier sound. So I know it's not typical, but I like to do that. Just add a little bit. And we can go ahead and add this to, you can freeze this and flatten it. Flatten. And we got our own like little kick right there. Let's get a drum rack. I like my shit to be clipping a little bit. I don't give a fuck. Alright, let's get rid of that. Alright, we're gonna add a reverb right here as well. Holy shit, that's loud as fuck. No wonder it was so quiet, because I had my velocity all the way down. Added some reverb to the piano and as well to the chords right here in Serum, and we're just gonna call this bell keys, and we're just gonna call this piano just so that it's simple, and this is gonna be low brass. So let's go ahead and listen. Added the reverb. And I also rolled the chords right here. So it's kind of softer. And now what I wanted to do is, as you can tell, it sounds very synthetic. So an easy way to make something sound more organic is to turn up the attack on the sound. So let me go ahead and demonstrate. Let me turn off the reverb real quick. And as you can tell, it's kind of short right now. But if we turn on this knob, which is one of the macros I set up, the higher it is, the shorter the sound's gonna be. So if we turn it down, we can get an extended kind of chord. Sound. And let's go ahead and put the reverb back on. This should sound pretty cool. So a little bit quieter, that's better. Very kind of mysterious kind of sound. So good, we have that kind of dark vibe, that trap vibe. And yeah, next I gotta kind of think about where I want to take this as usual, and I'll be back. Alright, and I'm gonna stop saying alright every time I start a new clip, or I'm gonna try. But basically what I've done here is I have added a lead sound, and I think I'm gonna perfect this sound maybe a little bit later, but I was just messing around, and definitely gonna have this thing inside my pack most likely. But basically I just came up with a melody by clicking it in as usual. Actually, I think I played the first part of this in. I really prefer playing over just drawing it in, because it's so much easier to come up with creative ideas, because you really are transferring the rhythm that you have in your head directly into the keyboard, which goes into the computer. So it's a great tool. So basically this is what I have right now. I'm gonna go ahead and play it real quick. So he uses a lot of that kind of lead that's kind of legato sounding, and it's kind of like a typical, not typical, but you'll hear it in a lot of old school drill, I guess. Not old school shit, older kind of songs and some early drill stuff. But it sounds kind of harsh, so I'm gonna have to perfect it a little bit later. But I was thinking maybe that we should add a reverb at the end of this. And this thing right here, the quick edit, that's just something that I set up. It has a bunch of built-in tools that I could just quickly edit stuff. And then there's the volume knob, so I don't have to change volume over here. So I kind of made like a cool little macro thing. I'm gonna kind of close it down though. So And again, this thing is sounding a little bit harsh, so maybe something with the filter. And it sounds like it's starting too fast as well. Alright, so I turned off mono, and that sounds pretty cool, honestly. We could do that. Still sounds kind of like a lead, so sounds very nice, sounds like a bell. So I'm definitely gonna play with that sound and add it to a pack so that you guys can use it. At this point, the next clip is gonna be something with maybe vocal chops, or maybe some kind of sound design. Definitely gonna be something where I'll have like an explanation behind it. So yeah. Alright, so we're gonna be making a quick bell sound using FM synthesis, which is part of Operator, which is a built-in instrument in Ableton. And this is what it's gonna sound like. And we're just gonna start from scratch. We're just gonna get an operator. And basically how this plugin works is that this right here is the setup of the oscillator. So these four oscillators, these four tabs right here. And as you can tell, you have the wave and you have the envelope. Currently the only oscillator that's on is oscillator A. But how FM synthesis works is that each oscillator feeds into the next one. So right now, how this is set up, you can tell that B goes into A, C goes into B, and D goes into C. And there's tons of different setups how you want to, like, you can have two oscillators going into B, which then goes into A. You can have tons of different ways to do it, and it's good to sometimes make a sound in one setup and then go ahead and change it. But we're starting with a sine wave, and it's a bell, so we want it to ring out. So we're going to turn up the release to about 2 seconds, something like that, a little bit longer. And then we're going to turn down this sustain level because we want it to be plucky as well. We don't want it to be a sine wave that you can hold for a long time. It's just a bell, so I'm going to do that much. Decay. So now even when I hold it, it's not gonna stay on, it's gonna still have that plucky bell envelope. Now we're gonna turn up oscillator B, and if you listen carefully, you can hear what it does. It starts to distort the sound a little bit. Not distort, but add more harmonics to it. So I'm gonna turn it up to -14. And we're also going to turn up the oscillator because we want this, the octaves, because we want this bell to be higher. We want the harmonics to be higher up, so I think 8 is good. I gotta select my thing. And now what we want to do is actually copy the envelope from A and make the decay half of what A is, and the release half of what A is. So it'll just play at the beginning. And then we have a basic bell. Now what I went ahead and did is I added another oscillator, and I turned it up to -16. So you can get all kinds of cool stuff. There's tons of different waves that you can use and stuff, but I turned up the oscillator like that, or the octave, and then I copied it from B. Then I added an attack so that it fades in a little bit. think it was actually lower. And I think in A I actually did that, not in C. Just so it's a softer sound. And obviously I didn't have C that loud. So it kind of sounds a little bit different, but it's the same kind of typical sound, or not typical, the same sound that I had in general. Oh, okay, I'm gonna play a C real quick. Alright, so we have a C. I kind of want to try some stuff with audio. I'm gonna close all these other things right here. And we're gonna get an audio track real quick. We're gonna freeze this and then copy this to the audio track. I want to see what I can do with the audio version of this. So next up, something with samples or sampler. I don't know. We already have the lead that we want, so at this point we can start working on the drop level. Can have something really cool with that. Alright, so I'm gonna be right back. I'm not really gonna stay working on the drop for that much longer, or I mean on the intro for much longer, so I kind of want to move on to the drop before I start getting like creative block and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of want to create a snare first of all, a layered snare, because I hear that in his songs is that he just doesn't use like a typical one type of snare, and he likes to layer a bunch of them. So this is kind of all we have for the drop right now. We just have the intro and we have this weird noise. It sounds pretty bad right now, but it's alright. Definitely gonna do some edits to it, but let's go ahead and actually browse for some snares and stuff. So I have all these kits, and I'm gonna get like, first of all, I'm gonna need a combination of claps and just trap snares. So that one's like, okay, so I think this one will do the job as kind of like a mid-range kind of thing, and then we need like a clap. Let's go ahead and group this stuff, like this audio right here, and solo it so that we can hear. So of course the clap is to just add that kind of soft texture to it, I guess. And we can bring the snare in a little bit later, I guess. And we're gonna do some EQing as well, just to get it so that they all sit well together and we get the favorite or the best part out of each sound. I don't think I'm gonna use a very low snare. Maybe just one more sound. I need something that really smacks hard. So something like that. These are kind of layered already. Alright, so let's go ahead and use the fades to get exactly what we want out of this sound. Alright, so we get that kind of nice red, strong hit, and then we get the kind of crumbling effect of the clap up here. So it's nice. We can even like warp this and stretch it out a little bit. Let's put this in complex mode and then add a warp marker at the end, and we can stretch this. We can pull this out, and it's clipping on the master. So I mean, I don't really care about that because it doesn't really matter until you're mix or mastering. And when you don't put a limiter on, you're able to really hear what things are truly popping out. If you put a limiter on, it kind of gives you the illusion that everything is equal and that nothing is really standing out too much. So I don't really like to use a limiter that much, and hopefully the volume isn't too bad with that. So let's listen to each one. So that's obviously a high-end kind of sound. So we can go ahead and lower out or take out most of the low end. So this is kind of like a mid-range type of thing, it seems. I want to have some high end on it, and then some mid-range as well, and then get something going on down here. One sec, I'll be right back. Okay, so we're gonna lower this last snare in the low end. We're just gonna cut out some of this right here. I'm gonna listen to it real quick. A lot of unnecessary low end, but I do want to keep this mid, or this kind of low mid range. Just because it sounds good in the lower end, and these ones are higher end snares. And obviously we're not going to have it on the kick, we're going to have it a little bit later. And it sounds, I don't know, it just doesn't sound like it's... Oh yeah, I forgot to fade some of these. They sound like they're way too long. Especially this right here. And this one up here. I want to turn it up a little bit louder. And transpose it upwards. Too much low end, so I don't really want that kind of a sound. There's way too much. Alright, that's good. Let's go ahead and get a bass sound. And as you can tell, I kind of closed everything down. I'll open it back up just because it looks better. But I'm gonna get a hip hop sub, because that's what I like to use for this kind of stuff. And it's basically just a very low sine wave, and we can actually distort it with saturation and make it have more higher harmonics, I guess, so it stands out a little bit more. So there's already like a distortion amount, but it's not as accurate as if I just got my own saturator. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and let me check what the tonic is, or the root note is. It's an A, so we need to have an A playing right here. And it's got to be pretty low because this is a sub instrument. Too low. Oh, wrong instrument. I'm on operator. This is the FM bell. All right. And let's just go ahead and listen to this looped and solo it. Alright, so we have the saturator right here. So what I'm gonna do is put it on DC mode. I just like how it sounds a little bit better. Let's put on some glide as well. Alright, so it's sounding alright. Maybe some overdrive instead, who knows. And if we get the kick, we can go ahead and listen to how it would sound. Alright, so an octave lower sounds a lot better, so that was the problem right there. Still sounds super distorted. That's alright, it sounds fine. Let's listen to it one more time at a higher octave. So it seems to me like it just needs some EQing as well. I'm gonna come up with a bass line real quickly with the rest of the instruments, and then I'll put it in here, and then we can build off of that. Okay, so I made a bass line, and it honestly didn't take me that long at all, and I actually could have recorded it, but it's all good. We kind of have everything already laid down, so we can just go ahead and go over what I did. But basically starts on an A and then kind of does some octave jumps and then goes to E at one point, and some gliding here and there. And I kind of want to turn up the release, but let's go ahead and listen to what I made as part of the intro. So now let's go ahead and up the release as well. I actually kind of like it how it is when it's a little bit lower, so 50 is fine because you can't even hear it. But something I wanted to do was with the snares. I wanted to fix that, but let's go ahead and listen in the drop. What I did is I went ahead and got some of the instruments like this one, and I made them I turned on the reverb and then I added them to the drop. So that's kind of gonna be the chord progression that's gonna guide the whole thing. And then the lead as well, I turned on the reverb on it. And I made it mono as well because I didn't like how it sounded as a plucky instrument. I wonder how it would sound in a lower octave. Not bad. We could do that actually. I wonder if I think it'll work. And then obviously I have the horns, and then I added a last kind of thing, so it goes up and then back down. It goes up by a fifth, so it goes to E. And then let's go ahead and listen. So no kick, nothing yet, and definitely some stuff to do with this audio down here. But what I wanted to do was fix the snare because it was sounding weird. So one thing I forgot to do was fade in the bottom snare because I don't want it to have the attack. The attack is going to come from these two sounds, so we don't want this to have any attack. We want it to be soft. And something I wanted to do was also drag this in until that is on the line, so we get a fade in kind of effect. So let's go ahead and listen. Kind of get that effect. I think I faded this one out a little bit too much. Perfect. And then we'll put this on every third bar, or damn, every third quarter, I guess. I think, I'm not exactly sure. So, and I don't like how the strange lead is sounding, so I'm gonna move it in until at a later part, I mean. And then I'm gonna do the drums and all that later, but definitely something we need is to turn up the BPM a little bit, and we're gonna need some other drums as well to complete this. And I don't like how it's sounding right here with the second horn, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove that. I soloed some of the tracks, and I kind of want to come up with an arpeggiator type of sound, because that is something else that I feel like is missing that would add to the Gravez feel of this track. So again, I like using Serum. I don't know, I think I'm gonna use it again. I'm just gonna get a saw, and I need to select it real quick. So we're gonna get that kind of an arpeggiator type of sound. So to start off, we need to have chords. So I want to bring in the arpeggiator at this part right here. So we're gonna go ahead and play. I added like an organ and some other sounds, and I took out some things that I wasn't gonna use. So things changed a lot since the last clip. So. All right, so obviously we need to come up with a chord progression that's gonna fit with this. And I actually switched out Serum for the operator plugin with the FM bell that we made earlier. And I soloed a few of the tracks just so that we can have some background reference as to what is going on in the back. So let's go ahead and play this real quick. So sounds very nice, and basically how I got that effect is that I used the arpeggiator MIDI effect, and I switched it from up to downwards, and I changed the rate to 1/12, which will put it in a triplet grid, and it'll have a different groove than the rest of the instruments, which is what I wanted. And I made it so that it repeats just once, and that's about it. Now basically I also did some mastering as well, and I used a multi-band compressor and a glue compressor and a limiter, and it keeps everything from clipping on the master at the end, and that's what really counts. It doesn't matter if you're clipping while you're producing, while you're coming up with ideas, because you want to just get the ideas out first and then take care of the final product later. So don't restrict yourself to volume levels or anything, especially when it comes to the kick. And a lot of people ask about how you get a very loud kick, and what I tell them is that you want to have your kick be a lot louder than the rest of your instruments. So, and if it means have it clip, then go ahead and have it clip. But then when you're mastering, you want to obviously put a limiter on there, some compression, so that it can punch through a little bit, but have everything be relatively nice and solid and glued together. And then the limiter, obviously, and you turn it up until it's loud but not distorting. And at the end, you get a nice loud punchy kick. I spent a lot of time on these videos, so I would appreciate it if you left a like, especially if you enjoyed the video and learned something. I think I did pretty well. So I'm gonna go ahead and play the final product. I hope you guys enjoyed. There's gonna be some more videos in the next 2 weeks, I believe. Again, thanks for watching, and I appreciate your guys' time, and hopefully you appreciate mine, and I'll see you guys next time.